welcome to the B Team Podcast. I am your host, Josh Safran, with my co-host,
At Mars.
and our permanent guest,
Rob Nelson.
We're here every week to talk to you about all things Bentonville, bourbon, and business. The B Team Podcast. Be here. So we brought in, speaking of grapes and grains, the man, the myth, the legend, the bourbon connoisseur himself, the man with many, many names, Mr. Russ Kempton.
Thank you, Josh.
And Russ is going to drink with us today, pour with us, and educate us on bourbon, which is better than the three of us going, oh, this stuff's pretty good. What do you think?
Oh, the problem is we like it all.
Yeah.
He can at least tell us, mostly us and the viewers, why bourbons taste, why they taste the way they do and everything else, whereas we just say it's good or it's bad.
It's so tasty.
I love it.
I love it. Good, bad. There's a lot in the middle.
Okay.
So, Russ, give us the 10-second overview on you. And speaking of grapes and grains, and I know you can go on for a long time, and we'll plug your website before you head out today.
So I'm an independent beverage alcohol educator specializing on American whiskey, scotch, and tequila. I do corporate events around the United States and Mexico. Yes, I do also speak in Mexico on tequila. And I've had my company almost 11 years, and I do 100 corporate events a year around the country, including events for you fine gentlemen in the room.
The Gents Place. Good plug. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So what do you have today for us?
So, I'm not a collector per se, but I have a lot of whiskey in my storage unit. And the other day when Josh was talking to me about this, I said, you know what, I've got this bottle of Knob Creek 9-year-old that was distilled 20 years ago.
20.
And this was, they took the age statement off in 2016. And so I kept it. I said, you know what, maybe the age statement's never going to come back. And then in 2019, they just, there's more availability, more maturation. So they, in 2020, put the year back on the label. Well, that's old school. That's the old original label. When Booker Noe from Jim Beam started the brand in 1992 as a small batch bourbon collection. So this is 9 years at 100 proof for 50% alcohol by volume. You look at this great color here, deep, rich mahogany. And that's what that 9 years, and that's what 10 years, that's what 12 years in American oak will give you.
Tasty.
It's very tasty.
Cheers.
Cheers, gentlemen.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
So just that I'm clear. So This is 9 years, but you've had it for 20.
It was distilled 20 years ago. I've had this since 2013 in my stash, but I know it was distilled around 2003, 2004.
This is spectacular. I think the older stuff is...
It's amazing, isn't it? Yeah, I get a lot of leather. And that's really cool. I get a little bit of cedar, a little black licorice, a lot of sugar vanillins, a lot of caramelized sugar. But now what I want you to do, you had this eye drop.
Got a little vodka in it.
We have some distilled water in front of us, gentlemen. So go ahead and get that eye drop that you have in front of you, and go ahead, just put a couple drops in here. And this is, in Scotland, when you add water, it's called releasing the serpent. When you add water in the United States, it's called releasing the beast. Whoa. You're going to see just a couple drops of water on how
can we call it in this podcast, releasing the Rob?
You're releasing the Rob.
I was going to say.
Yeah.
Sounds like 3 drops or 4.
On this pour, I do 3 to 4. On an ounce, you do 3 to 4.
I did 2, and I only
did a half gallon.
But if you look, the complexity on the nose is changed completely because the molecular structure and the identity of the spirit changes when you add just a couple drops of water. The molecular structure is broken down because these trapped flavors that you're taking into your palate right now that have been captured during fermentation, distillation, and maturation. Now you're realizing on your palate, because from one-dimensional on your palate when you tried it a minute ago to 2 to 3-dimensional with those couple drops of water. What do you think of this with just a few drops?
Well, it's crazy how much it mellowed it out.
Just a couple drops out.
I know.
That's correct, isn't it?
And it doesn't after the drops, it doesn't even taste
the same.
Like a 80 proof. It's super smooth, and I don't know, it tastes like...
Which way do you like it better? With the water.
I like it with the water better.
You like it with the
water? You heard my little cough the first time without the water. That was a bit much.
And plus, it's going to keep your palate fresh and hydrated. And I get a little bit more fresh cut vanilla bean with the water. I get a little bit more fresh oak.
Less leather.
That's really toned down a little bit. That cedar box is toned down a little bit. But I am bringing up a lot.
Make that up.
But I'm bringing up, I'm getting that fresh cut vanilla bean, almost creme brulee out of the oven, feel from those sugars.
So how do you say all those things without laughing when you're talking to people?
Because I haven't, I'm fortunate
on that. Unlike you.
Yeah, I'm fortunate, I have a trained palate of, 40 years in the business.
But how much better is this than what we did? He goes, I don't know, it's tasty. We like it.
Yeah.
It was wet,
Okay.
brown.
That's fair. That's fair.
He's so good.
But this day and age, to try something that was distilled 20 years ago is pretty rare and pretty fun and pretty unique. Just to see, like, this has been in my lockup, in air-conditioned lockup, and so no light has ever touched this, no heat has ever touched this, nothing that's going to corrupt the integrity of the spirit. So if you can keep these types of whiskeys in your closet, your lockup, you never store it next to the oven, the heat of the day, an air conditioning unit above it, your refrigerator, because that's going to compromise the molecular structure of the spirit over time. But just showing you, taking good care of that. And again, I just opened this in front of you guys. The cork did not disintegrate. It didn't fracture because it was stored upright. If you distill spirits, horizontal, this is going to fracture over time.
I have a question.
Yes.
I was told that every once in a while you're supposed to turn the bottle and then keep it back up.
You can do that, but that's just a quick minute.
Right.
That's all right, because it will keep the tea cork or the cork, fresh. But if you were just to go ahead and lay that down over time, the alcohol is going to disintegrate.
So do you recommend doing that or not doing it over a 12-year period?
I would, in a 12-year period, I do it once a year. You do it on an anniversary day. Like, hey, you're drinking beer, watching football on January 1. Do it on January 1 every year.
Why don't we go to his house for a good bourbon drinking party and help him turn them? And
Sounds
right.
fun.
That's when we'll open the good bottles.
Yeah.
The problem, that's why he does it January 1. He invites everyone over. He knows they don't want to have anything to drink.
And then it's okay to add water. I'm years ago when I was getting one of my many certifications, when I was getting one of them in Scotland, and the old master blender Cardew. Cardew's the base whiskey that goes into Johnny Walker. So every blended whiskey in Scotland has a foundation spirit. Well, the old blender, Ian Williams, I was taking a class from, 5-hour class. He goes, Russ, we learn from you Yanks. It's okay to add ice and water. So when a legendary blender from a legendary distiller that goes into a legendary blend says it's okay to add ice and water, it's okay to add ice and water. I don't defer to a 22-year-old bartender with his first shift at a steakhouse saying, you never add ice and water. No, you saw how that couple drops of water changes the identity and the complexity. Well, if you add ice, then you don't need to add water. So that first ice cube, whether it be just pebbled ice, a couple of cubes, or maybe an ice.
That'll for rock.
Yeah. You don't need to add water. Then that first sip, on and the nose is you've hibernated the spirit grain, the corn, the barley, the rye, the wheat, and you're just picking up the wood sugars from that oak barrel component. And that's okay. You drink it the way you want to drink it. And my thing is, and my deal is, never have anybody tell you that you have to drink it the way they enjoy it. No, you enjoy it the way you want to, because it's your dollar, it's your money, it's your guest, it's your expense account, whatever it might be.
Russ, question for you and then a comment. So question, so plug your website if folks want to get in touch with you.
My website is speakingofgrapesandgrains.com. Perfect. Speakingofgrapesandgrains.com.
And you're local in Bentonville, so if folks wanted to see you.
Yes.
Awesome.
I moved up here 3 years ago from North Texas, so don't hold that against me.
And then,
Great if we could flash that up underneath.
yes,
Yeah.
we got it.
You got it.
Got it on it. And
Don't
just
forget to subscribe.
you dressed up so nice for the podcast.
Tommy Muhammad.
Sure, can get
It's funny. It's funny he said. You talked. It's funny you talked about the ice thing, because I'm sure most of the viewers that are into bourbon have watched or listened to the Pappy Land, where he tells the story where he's at a bar and he wants it with ice and a twist of lemon. And the bartender tries to tell him, you're not supposed to do that. And he's like, I'm actually the person that makes that. Yeah. And that's how I do it.
Yes.
So,
And it's to each their own,
yeah.
and then over time, your palate will always change and evolve, and I like bourbons and whiskeys and tequilas that have a little more age to it, a little bit more oak component to it. I don't like that younger, spirit. But again, that's my palate over years and years and years. And all the viewers out there, you drink it the way you like it and you enjoy it the way you like it. And that's really my methodology. Yeah.
So you're walking into the local
Okay.
liquor store to pick up your favorite daily. What is it?
I'm very bullish on Four Roses. Yeah, I really like. There's the. Have you tried their new? It's been out 4 years now, but the Four Roses, small batch select. It's the darker label, more of that maroon label, and it's 105 proof, 110 proof, I think, and it's the mingling. I like it on their website. They don't blend; they mingle. So they mingle 6 to 7 year old whiskeys together.
I
Instead of blending, and I like
the
that.
price range on
That price is about 55. Can't beat that. No, and if I can't find that, then I'll do like just for Manhattans or old fashioned or a cocktail. I like and love Elijah Craig. Small batch at 94 proof for like $35. But I think a hidden gem out there too is for $35 is Russell's Reserve 10-year-old.
Yeah.
For $35. So when you can find a 10-year today, this $35 as opposed to a 10-year-old Scotch is going to be $40, $50. That is probably, I think, those three I just mentioned, the price to quality ratio are outstanding. So those are the three that I always look for just to have a daily drinker.
Love it.
Russ, thank you.
You're welcome.
You promised you'll come back. This
will
was
be
much
back.
better than us doing it by ourselves.
Thanks for having me, and I look forward to more.
Yeah.
you.
Thank you, Russ. This is very tasty. Thanks for sharing with
Thank
us.
you.
All right, guys. Welcome back to another episode of the B Team podcast. The B Team stands for Bentonville, Bourbon, and Business.
Business.
Yep. Nice. Wonderful.
Yes, I remembered that.
And we're in a new studio. I'm just super excited about this. They actually gave us a promotion to be in a bigger and better space as opposed to kicking us out the door, which was also an option coming out of the first podcast.
That is true.
So I'm Josh Safran, your host, owner of the Gents Place. I have,
Matt Mars.
what do you do again?
I'm a home builder in Northwest Arkansas.
And I need your help on the air quotes, our permanent guest.
Our permanent guest, Rob Nelson.
Rob Nelson.
Hey, Rob. Welcome back.
I'm glad to be back.
The voters decided to have you come back.
Spoken.
We have to talk to Haley, by the way. She was very, very
Shout out to
boisterous.
Haley.
Yeah, oh, gosh.
Shout out to Haley at the Gents Place.
I
you
think
see her quote?
I think he paid her for that.
Oh, yeah. He was very generous with his gratuity, and it said, Rob needs to be more than a permanent guest. He's one of the family.
That was not solicited at all.
I feel like you wrote it.
I build homes.
I do. I knew he was retired. But
Yeah, Matt and I are both. Well, I retired.
I've been telling
We've tried to get, this is Patrick over here. You want to introduce Patrick?
I do. Well, you're doing good. Introduce Patrick.
Go ahead.
You're the co-host. You take over.
Okay, this is a good friend of mine, Patrick Kuhlman. He owns Next Home Real Estate, and he does many things. He Airbnbs, home rental. He manages that. He does a ton of stuff, and we just want to hear about.
wrapping it so eloquently.
And when we talked about bringing Patrick in, I thought it was interesting because there's so much construction going on here right now. So many people moving here every day. Apartment buildings popping up all over the place. You guys are in home construction. Airbnbs. I mean, this is a trend and a marketplace right now where we just can't keep up. So, Patrick, welcome, and we'd love to get some great insight and have some fun with you today talking about the housing market, the rental market, and just all the new things going on here in the community. So welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank y'all for having me.
So,
Cheers.
Well,
oh yeah, we have to.
I think I'm behind on you.
Yeah, Patrick's a little bit behind.
I have a feeling you'll catch up.
Here, let me just set this over here by you, and we got to get you ready to go.
Patrick, what's your story?
Well, so I've been in real estate now in many different avenues for 13, 14 years now. So my prior life, I did hotels and hospitality. So spent 14 years of my life doing that.
Wasn't that what you did too?
Yeah. Was kind of in a little box there. Don't do well in a box. So decided that I needed to get out of that box, and real estate seemed to be the next best thing. A lot of people try it. Not a lot of people are successful at it. We try to do it right. So started, like I said, 12, 13 years ago in that. I've continued to build, and what we do started at working with somebody else in their brokerage to now owning my own brokerage.
That's a huge accomplishment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when we jumped into that aspect of things, it's kind of a scary leap, but things have worked out really well. We've actually grown year over year. We've obviously had a lot of good years in this market, had a lot of questionable, times as we've gone through the last couple of years on where things are going to go, but we've continued to grow. Since then, we've expanded we have a full service long-term rental company. We also now have a short-term rental company that manages Airbnbs throughout the area, VRBOs, whatever you want to call them. We actually have several that we own ourselves. We manage third parties. So really, you name it, real estate, and we're involved in it in some form or fashion. So
shout out to Patrick. Yeah, he handles ours.
So you guys must like him if he's here.
Well, so Patrick. I knew Patrick liked sitting and having drinks because this is usually where we meet Patrick somewhere. But
that's what I'm best at, generally.
Yeah. So one night we're having dinner and we see him and Chance, and we get to talking, and he's like, I manage Airbnbs because we had some Airbnbs, and Carrie and the kids were trying to help, and we were trying to do it ourselves, and we were failing because we would have someone come in.
So we're saying it's Carrie's fault. What I heard you say.
Well, it was my fault. Let me read. Okay, Carrie did all the good. I did the bad.
Matt's like, we need 4 forks, Max. Carrie's like, no, probably one.
Exactly. So we tried it, and our problem was we could rent because we were in a great market. We would get it rented, but it would take us 3 days to turn over. So we just couldn't. We weren't efficient enough. So we get to talking with Patrick, and he's like, I do that. He's like, I was in the hotel business. I know. And so he came in, and the first part was he made me spend, he said, we need to get all the same sheets. And whereas we had just random stuff, he's like, we need all the same of everything. So then when my cleaning ladies come, they bring the same and just, they're in and out. So you tell us how you.
No, you're the cheap one, as we found out. considering the dryer.
I'm going thrifty. Thrifty.
He got on to me because some of the people have complained that when they open the dryer, it doesn't arrive.
Continue. You can just.
You just have to reach in there quick and grab what you want, and then you shut it again.
Patrick, I'm so happy you're here today.
It was an amazing experience.
So anyway, the other huge thing was when we did it ourselves, we didn't realize, when they have one of our properties rented, they actually go over there, an hour before the people are supposed to be there. They turn the lights on, they make sure everything's tidy, and it's just, they made it to where, Airbnbs are my favorite thing that we have now because I can just, I never hear from Patrick except for when I needed to set up my routing number for him to send me money.
We need to go to the Airbnb and look at the reviews pre-Patrick and post-Patrick. I would love to see.
Well, here's the thing,
slumlord versus a fantastic manager of the property.
When you work in hotels for so long and you get that beat into you about the guest experience. So that's what we're really after. I mean, I've stayed in a lot of short-term rentals where half the owner's belongings are hanging out. The nightstand is full of, whatever things they look.
That's a whole other episode.
Use ketchup.
That's the After Dark podcast.
You're a little surprise around every corner. And so what we do is we try to run them as a hotel experience per se. So when you walk in there, and you would get the same experience as if you walked into a Hilton per se. Cleanliness, everything is where it's supposed to be. And, so that's what we focus on is, anybody can come in and say, hey, I can do this for you, but it's about that personal service. It's about making sure that you're actually, you're getting paid for a service. You need to provide that service.
Yeah. And you're also confirming that it was Matt's fault, not Carrie's fault, that you picked up a problem with that.
Everything.
Yeah. Him and Carrie are friends. He and him, he's like, Matt, are you going to do this?
I met the dude over there 5 minutes before guest check-in. He was putting a grill together in the driveway.
Hello, everybody. Welcome.
Patrick was like, really?
No, he's like, I got this. I'm like, all right, well. So,
yeah. Amazing.
But it's so true, right? Because Matt, I watched Matt and Carrie kind of go through the struggle of putting their Airbnb together. I'm like, after 20 years in the hotel business, I want nothing to do with that. And sure enough,
Typical Rob move here. Listen to this.
sure enough, some Saturday morning, I got one of those on my front door and had an opportunity to buy a great property downtown, which we did. And it was just perfect turnkey for a potential Airbnb.
That's the one right across the street from your home?
Yeah. And I was like, I do not want to get back into the hotel business. And of course, Matt was like, well, all you got to do is call Patrick. And literally, I wasn't putting together grills or anything of that nature.
Which we appreciate.
Yeah. And I didn't go through, I learned from Matt's mistakes. And I was like, Patrick, here are the keys. And we had it up and running in 2 weeks.
It was a short turnaround. For his, we actually furnished the whole thing. So we sourced everything from everything.
Which is huge.
Did Matt get a kickback, though, on finding this?
No, but this is super important for the viewers. How turnkey do you make it?
You don't have to do a thing. I mean, you can do as much or as little as possible, but honestly, we like less input more than because we have basically a checklist of saying these are the things we know we need. We source it, we take care of it. So, anything from, we've got one that we take care of lawn care on, from start to finish. The owner collects their money and goes on down the road.
So I'm gonna have a link to my Airbnb up here. Well, Patrick did it from A to Z, and it's nice.
Well, I think a lot of people would like to invest or own something where they live versus investing in the stock market,
Right.
But they don't know how to do it. So for us personally, me and you, I mean, it's nice to be able to say, Patrick, you can basically say, I want to get an Airbnb. Can you keep an eye out for me? And he can find it, furnish it, and rent it. And you just let it go.
And here's the other nice thing too. We can look at the property. If you're sourcing a property, we can say, here's where we think this property will end up. It doesn't make sense financially. Does it not make sense financially? Because not every property makes sense as a short-term rental. And I look at them the same as if it was mine, if I would do it. And I'm going to give you the same advice. If I don't think it makes sense, I'm going to say I wouldn't do it. And so we look at, all sides of it before you even get into it, because now you've got not only that, but you've got government regulations coming into play. Like Fayetteville right now is capped out on short-term rentals. You can't add anymore. You got to get on a waiting list. And so if you're looking to invest in a market there, you got to know what you're getting into. I've seen so many stories where people bought the property, didn't do their homework, and then realized they can't do what they do what they wanted to do.
So then they own a house that's sitting vacant.
Right. Absolutely.
Well, I was going to ask you,
term or something.
what's the on these guys' properties and in general downtown, 90% of the time it's full, 80% of the time
Downtown does really well, yeah. So obviously location is going to be key, amenities are going to be key. A lot of the properties in downtown, add a hot tub to it, whatever. How to put yours. You have a hot tub?
I broke down and put a hot tub in there.
I could see it with one of those little kiddie pools outside with hot water in it.
So
they're blowing it up.
Yeah. So his at the pool. I mean, this summer I think we had like 4 months. We had like 2 days and we're not.
Yeah, it was nuts.
Wow.
And it was funny because Rob would call and he'd be like, "Matt, is yours rented?" And I'd be like, "I don't know. I haven't gotten on there."
Knowing damn well that it was ready. Make him feel better.
Oh, I have Matt's at mine saved, and I always go and look and see who's doing better.
we both fib on when they're in it, so we can try to inflate ours a little bit.
Now, do you think with all the hotels going downtown, it's going to impact Airbnbs there, or you don't see that changing?
That goes back to my hotel days. I started in hotels here before Embassy Suites existed.
Oh wow.
And so we were like, okay, Embassy's coming in now with these rooms. That's going to really, what's it going to do to us? Embassy open, no impact. Embassy added on another wing, no impact. All the other hotels came in, no impact. And so, we've been able to absorb the growth. I will say that everybody is trying to get into the same piece of pie in some form or fashion. So that's where location, amenities, service, those all come into play. Reviews are huge. Making sure that you're getting those 5-star reviews because people look at those. I mean, people dig back like 3 pages into your reviews. And if they see something, they're like, well, what happened here 2 years ago? It's the funniest stuff, but they look for that. So we, try to ensure that everything we do is going to get us that 5-star so that we don't have that right on the top.
I think the big thing with Airbnbs is it sounds fun, it sounds sexy. Oh, people kind of get into it as like a hobby, and then they could financially get hurt, where you kind of come in there and you truly look at it as a business from the hotel side. I mean, to make sure
it's a lot of work to run it correctly. And so for somebody to come in there and say, and I'm not telling somebody they can't do it themselves. Just like if you want to sell your house yourself, go for it
if they have the time, energy,
but know what you're getting into. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, it feels very sexy on the outside. I'm going to buy a home, and let's just say my mortgage is $2,500. Then I'm going to rent it out for $4,000 a month. And it was like I'm just rolling in cash. But if you're not renting it, if you get bad reviews, and then all of a sudden there's a problem, if something breaks and it's out of your control. So, I mean, you have to have the right people like yourself, the right location, and a good house. Otherwise, again, it's not just a gold mine where these things are going to work out all the time, right?
Right. And we do have an off season here. I mean, during the winter months, I mean, people are coming in to do the mountain bikes. They're not coming in to the museum as much. There's just less going on. And so you've got to prepare for the off season where you might have made $4,000 or $5,000 this month. This month, you're going to maybe make half that or less. And so, some of those things people got to think about as far as budgeting wise to make sure they can make their payments, have the cash flow they need for the off season. So, I mean, we're not year round quite yet here. We've got more and more things coming in. They're adding to our base, but there is still a few months there and the off season where you're not going to have the occupancy. For sure.
Got it.
So do you get a lot of people that relocate here and then you put them in an Airbnb while you look for a long term or look for a house for them?
Yeah, we've had a little bit of that, and we do see people. I see it all the time where people say, "Hey, I need 2-3 months here and there." Sometimes their budgets are unrealistic. I mean, you're not going to get a month-long short-term rental for $1,200 a month. It's just not generally going to happen.
That's a day at Casa de Mars.
I mean, or if it's one you don't want to stay in, you might get it for that. There's a reason it's open for 3 months at $1,200 a month. But we do have that. I mean, I had a new construction in Bella Vista, 2-3 weeks ago that we had some issues with getting a CO, if you can imagine that.
No, not a thing.
Shout out to Bella Vista. they made
Too soon?
Yeah, too soon. It's a thing. But so we ended up putting them in an Airbnb for a couple nights, to make sure they had somewhere to stay. They were coming in from out of the area, and so we did put them up for a couple nights, took care of them. So there are times where that comes into play, and I see that more often than not as people are moving in. Most of the new construction right now is being bought by people relocating that I'm dealing with anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And so those people may have a gap there if something goes wrong.
Well, it's great too, right? Because if you're relocating and all your stuff's not here, you could go rent a house, but there's usually, if long-term rental, it's empty. Yeah, it's not outfitted.
Yeah.
Right, where Airbnb,
You've got all this stuff.
yeah. Well, and it's nice for if they're his customer because it's seamless. Like you have the same.
I look like a hero. I mean, I am a hero.
Well, no, you do, and that adds
Yeah,
a
so
lot
having
to your
the connections. We put them at the pool house for $50 a night.
Mm-hmm. No, man, it's not rented. I was like, there's people over there.
Can I shift gears? Because then again, I think all of you guys would help out the community on this one here. I want to shift to people moving to the community here, which is at an astronomical rate from outside the area. And if I'm newer in career, maybe don't have a home that I could pay cash for, because obviously mortgage rates right now are still really, really high. I want you guys to talk to me about long-term rentals, short-term rentals, buying homes. Like, where are you guys at right now, and what people should be doing if they're moving in here from the outside and they're on a decent but relatively fixed budget when it comes to living here?
Yeah, I mean, most of the time I would still say that it makes sense to buy versus rent. There are some circumstances, when rates jumped up to 7-8% not too long ago for a short time, thankfully. There was a lot of times where it actually made sense to rent versus buy based on some of the payments I was seeing at that point. But I think, you got to look at it at an equity standpoint. We've seen continued growth in equity. When we were selling for $120 a foot, a couple years ago, I was like, man, this is crazy.
We thought we were just, killing.
Now we're $200 a foot, $205, and I'm like, okay, so we've almost doubled the price per square foot
In just a few years.
4 or 5 years. Yes. And so, I have, in the many years I've been doing this, I've never had a seller have to bring a check to the table at closing. I mean, equity has always been there. And those people, either upgrade, downgrade, whatever they're doing, they have made money on their investment. And so going back to the rental aspect, yes, your check is always going to somebody else and their investment. Even if there's a gap there, human nature says you're not going to save that difference in money. You're not going to put it back in savings. You're going to spend it on something. And so my opinion is still the best bet is to buy, because we continue to see that growth in equity. I think we'll see that long term still in this area.
Yeah, there's still a lot of pockets here in town where you could buy at $200 a square foot and get in for around $300,000.
Yeah,
and good quality.
Yeah, and I mean, we all know we've all moved here from other places. Are you from here originally?
I call myself a semi-original. I've been here since like 2001.
We came in 95.
So,
but all of us are transplants, and I mean, we've seen it go from, like you said, if anything, you can look back and regret selling everything that you've sold because it's.
So yeah, my first house I bought was a new construction, Centerton, $85,000 in 2003.
Yeah, stand by a lot
yeah.
for that.
So I mean, yeah, I was living high back then.
Oh yeah, Carrie and I bought a house in Fayetteville. It was 78.5. I'll never forget. And it was all brick, 1,500 square feet. And we got home that night, and I was like, I don't know how we're ever going to pay for this. And now I wish I had 30 of those.
Yeah, I mean, it can go both ways. I mean, we've all sold stuff. I mean, it's been a market that I don't think anybody envisioned.
Yeah,
and COVID hit. You had people out there saying, "Oh, sell everything you have, get rid of it, drop the price, get rid of it." And I was looking at some of those people saying, "How are you giving this advice when you have no idea?" Just like I have no idea, where it's going. So you got to be careful on the advice you give to people too, because unless you have a crystal ball, to predict what that future looks like, you shouldn't be opening your mouth to people and telling them what the future holds when we have no.
Well, it's interesting. I have family in the Northeast, and you could see during COVID, everybody said, well, work remote. They're moving out of the big cities to places like this. So this is going to continue to grow and expand. If you're in another part of the country that may be coming down a bit, not so sure, but I mean, he's telling me, price downtown, 500 square foot, it's going to go up to 1,000 at some point.
I mean, that's my own personal prediction. But I mean, I think there's multiple homes downtown that are already 1,000.
Yeah, I don't think we haven't seen Bentonville blow up. I don't think with what commercial stuff we have coming here.
Commercial is actually doing really well too, which is kind of surprising the way it almost came back stronger than residential.
Which is shocking to me. Like to me, everybody's putting these big office buildings up here during COVID, and I go, well, people are not going to fill these. They're going to all be working from home. And sure enough,
but you saw what happened.
Yeah,
don't work from home anymore.
Yep.
You come back into the office, which, I mean, Walmart's always been that philosophy, the human connection. I mean, even in the hotel business, when we house Walmart groups, they would make people that were local come and stay in the hotel because they wanted that togetherness, that team building, as they call it.
Smart.
And so, they've always been about that. And so I think as we continue to see people come in, I mean, the growth is coming from not only one basket now, but we've got multiple baskets, And so thankfully, we're not a kind of a one-man show anymore. Now, the other side of that, we're actually selling houses to people coming here to buy second homes, so we're becoming a destination market.
Mm-hmm.
And whoever would have thought we'd be a destination market?
Nobody.
Used to be people would say Arkansas, do you even have electricity there? Running water?
Yeah, you're right. Back when I rode bikes more than I do now, I would always make a point to, while I was panting, pushing my bike up the hill, when I get to the top, I would always ask all the people, where they were from. And like now, recently, they're all from other places that come, that it floors me because they come from around the world now to come here to ride bikes.
Well, what's interesting to me, I was back home seeing some friends I've seen in 30 years, like my college roommates. I'm old, so just to start doing the math there. And these are progressive guys. One guy has a big job in Atlantic City, another one's a lawyer, guy's an owner of a company. It's like, what are you doing in Arkansas? Like, is there running water? Like, and nobody knows until you're here. And they go, wow, this place is amazing. And when I could see people buying second homes, but 10 years ago, people weren't wanting to buy a first home here. Like, it was get me out of here as fast as you can. And then you get here and they go, this is unbelievable. And they don't want to leave. And then they're attracting more and more people to come.
I mean, I was sitting at a bar in Colorado, if you can imagine, sitting at a bar.
Rare for this.
It's where most of my best work is done. But, you know, the guys around me, we were talking about Bentonville. They all knew where it was. It wasn't a secret. I mean, you know, and it was mountain biking. It was all the things. So, you know, the days of Northwest Arkansas being a secret are no more. You know?
Yeah.
We're fortunate, I think, to live where we are, and I don't think you can replicate this many other places.
Well, you know, you look at Matt's perspective, 20 years here, your perspective, 10 years here, right?
12, but ish, you're whatever.
Round it down.
Yeah.
Right? But I could say the same.
Dude, I'm 30 almost years here. I mean, I mean, I know it's counting or anything, but
But let him go with his.
Hey, look at my perspective, which is only 3 years, and it's the same exact perspective. Like, it's completely different only 3 years ago. So where's it going to be in 3, 6, 9, 10?
I mean, people always ask me, they're like, where's it? You know, exactly the same question. And I'm like, you know, I'm not going to predict that for you, just like you can do it. But, I mean, the next 5 years, I don't see anything but solid, you know, upward trend.
you heard it here at the park.
Yeah. And new construction is I think going to be the trend as well, just because people that are in their homes at 2-3% interest they don't want to move.
Yeah.
And so we'll see where that levels off. But I mean, you know, it's continued growth. People continue to come in from all over the area, and you're surprised when you're in different places in the country and people know where you're from, because I think we all think of it as a little area that, you know, was kind of a secret, but everywhere you go, people know about it now. So,
And what's your viewpoint, I guess, more for you, Patrick, but I guess you guys as well as home builders is, again, the apartment rentals going up also is out of control. I mean, and I understand that like Walmart's bringing a lot of people in that are trying to figure out where they want to be, but I'm just shocked at the amount of apartments that are going up in the area, premium, custom, just 4 or 5 stories, and they're popping up everywhere. I also see a lot of the over 55 homes now, the developments popping up all over the place too. Which
Have you been kind of looking into those? Or?
I'm only 3 years away.
He's on the list.
Okay, close.
He's on Patrick. Patrick, this could be your first cut.
I got some good play. The waiting list used to be 3, 4, 5 years long for some of those things. So.
They're not dying fast enough.
There was nowhere to go. I mean, we don't have.
I'll be the young whippersnapper in there now.
No, and I agree with that. When people come in, I think we used to see a lot of people come in not knowing the longevity they were going to be here. And so they would jump into an apartment. They weren't ready to commit to a house. They might have been on a project or an assignment. And until they got that commitment from whoever the employer was, they didn't feel comfortable making that financial commitment. But we see a lot of people now coming out of rentals into buying right now. And that's where most of our outside of relocations, it's people coming out of rentals. But there's always somebody, I think, to fill that gap. And I think, the studies say that we're still years behind on the rental side of things.
Well, I think apartments are always going to serve the purpose that they're there for, regardless of what market you're in.
Well, I think there's always going to be people that they all, and we're all a little bit guilty of this. Like you're like, I just want to wait till it gets to this, toward the market drops or it softens. But everyone I know that does that is kicking themselves because it hasn't happened in so long.
Yeah. I mean, I had guys say, I'm going to wait till it drops to 150. But,
Yeah.
And, you can get that in certain areas for certain homes by certain people, but in general, that's not the case, not the way it's going. So I think if you're always playing the waiting game, you're always going to be behind.
Yeah, I agree.
So, I'll never give people bad advice intentionally, but that's been the trend for so many years now. Where does that change? Who knows? But it looks like right now we don't see an end to that. So we just keep going.
So what's your next business venture that you're going to start?
I don't know. I don't know if I get a Turo maybe. Do some short-term renting.
You could get them all wrapped up with the next home. I mean, we haven't even talked about you and Rob's love for electric vehicles. Can we go there?
I didn't see your big Tesla out there.
And I was running late, so my wife had to run home.
I mean, this guy doesn't even drive anymore.
Is it plugged in?
Yeah.
No, she's driving it.
Oh, is she?
So Rob and Patrick both love electric cars. So I keep a gas one, so I can pick.
I think he was jealous of mine, and so he had to get.
Yeah. You've had about every kind.
We're on number 5 now, I think. So
Are there charging stations here enough, or
You don't, unless you go on a road trip, you don't need those. Charge it. Now, I don't know if he's got that set up yet or not.
I do.
Okay.
Yep, I do. But to answer your question, yeah, there are quite a few chargers around town if you get into a jam. But to Patrick's point, they're
Right. Rob's probably had to find a couple. He'll never tell me though. I know he won't.
we'll get the story off there.
When his is charging, it looks like Knight Rider, like the headlights do this.
But riding around town, yeah, typically the range on them are
But it just goes to show few and far between here, right? You guys would be the minority. You and I are more the majority. When I go out to Silicon Valley for my day job, I mean, all of the Ubers are Teslas. Like it's everything out there. If you're in a gas car out there, they look at you funny. And the gas is about $5.50 or $6 a gallon there on top of it. But I mean, again, it just goes to show you trends in the country, and you guys are probably on the forefront here, and you and I are the old dinosaurs.
I mean, we're driving the most inefficient electric earth saving vehicle that you can get.
I wasn't going to go there.
just to be clear, I bought it because I thought it was super cool.
Well, Rob, I was wondering if maybe we could get Rob. You could put like a wrap on yours. Maybe Patrick could flip you some money a month for drive like a moving billboard. You could have a next home.
The B Team Hummer.
Oh, or B Team Hummer.
Yeah, the B team.
I mean, well, I don't know that would work though. I mean, I bought a lot of stuff and kept receipts. I still haven't gotten a company credit card or expense account, so I don't know that I would do that.
We've got an 08.
Is that a shot for the B Team?
Yeah, for our company, one of our company cars is an 08 Hummer H3, and I will say I like this Hummer much better.
Oh yeah, yeah. I had an H2 back in the day, and this one's much better.
Yeah, I'm gonna see how long you keep it though. This is your first one, right?
I've had zero issues.
A lot of people get into them and then jump back out.
I did not sell my truck.
So you're waiting.
Well, I held on to it, and I'm at the point now where we're going to put it up for sale. My own work truck.
I'm 7,000 miles plus in. We're doing just fine. So. Probably my favorite one out of the 5 we've had.
Good stuff.
Patrick, before we let you go, though, I got to get a good Airbnb Matt Marsh story. I mean, the grill's good.
Matt Marsh.
Hold on.
No, we need his best story, not a Matt Marsh.
Fine. The best story that may or may not be Matt Marsh. Well, no. I mean, if you had a great story that happened to be about these guys that you wouldn't call out in front of everybody, or there's got to be a funny Airbnb story that you could be like.
So I mean,
I'm sure there's.
I have better hotel stories that are not in Airbnb.
Give us one of each.
Clean, but
Oh yeah, no. This is a PG-13 rated.
yeah, the stuff you had to clean out of the hallway after a night of drinking, and we in the hotel business we held a lot of restaurant crews when Restaurant Row was developing, and those boys could drink, and when they drank, strange things happened.
Mm-hmm.
But that was the hotel world. I would say probably the most interesting thing we've dealt with, and we try to source our guests appropriately so we don't have issues.
No, wink or look, like wink left eye if it's Rob, or right eye if it's Matt.
We'll preface that because when you're running a business and you got people's assets to protect, you want to make sure you're putting quality guests in those properties.
Smart man.
But had a lady who booked one of our lake house and Bella Vista properties, and yes, and I got a call from the neighbors the next morning. It said, they had a party there last night. And first of all, if they're having a party there, why wouldn't you call me when they're having a party?
Yeah.
I said, no, I had no idea. He's like, we need to come check it out. So went up there. It looked like somebody had a really good time based on what was left behind. Had a broken window in the front. Somebody looked like they did a rear booty through it. Some general things going on. So after doing some research in today's world, we found out that it was prom weekend, and a mother had rented the house for her kids and said, here you go, and left them be to have a party.
Liability.
Oh,
What'd that cost
funny
her?
thing was, where I was living at the time, after doing some more research, figured out that she actually lived in my neighborhood.
Oh, gosh.
So how was that?
No,
Knock on the door?
I left her alone. All I did was, she agreed to a damage agreement, and so we charged her credit card, let her know why. I told her I was a little disappointed in her. I don't know if she needed a lecture or not, but I gave her one. We cleaned it up, went on down the road, collected her money, fixed the damage. But people are always going to be people. They're going to do what they're going to do. But that was probably the most,
What's the craziest thing someone's left behind in an Airbnb?
In a PG-13, I mean,
that happened.
Or just,
Actually, a couple of weeks ago,
okay.
here we go.
Here we go.
We had
Rob sitting there stoking the fire.
the guest messaged me and said, "Hey, did you guys find anything in the nightstand?" Didn't tell me what we were looking for.
Yeah.
that's where they keep the Bibles typically, right?
Yeah.
We're thinking, obviously, So we messaged housekeeping.
Massage.
Hey, did you happen to find anything because they didn't report anything. Happen to find anything in the nightstand? And she said, "Oh my God, yes, we did. I threw it away." She read it as flashlight.
Oh boy.
But it was a different kind
And
of
so
light.
she grabbed it and realized what it was.
The A wasn't there. It was an E, I guess, in front of.
And so she said it's now in the garbage can out front. Garbage had run that day, so it's now somewhere in the landfill. But the guest is okay with it. being gone.
So when Rob called you asking if he left his device into the
Yeah, so and like I said, that was just a couple weeks ago. But yeah,
Wow.
that was, I didn't ask any more questions.
Teach their own.
Yeah.
Yeah. We don't judge here on the B team.
we kind of do. we kind of do. Are you kidding?
We do way too much.
If you're renting a place, I can't really discriminate on what you're doing there.
Yeah.
But as long as you leave it the way you found it.
Well, Patrick,
Enough.
thank you for coming in. You've been a hoot.
Yeah.
Great to have you.
What's your website, or do we need to will we just put that on the screen?
Well, he'll tell it to us, and then we'll put it up as well.
Flash it. Well, cheers.
Yeah.
Well, hold on. I want to hear his.
Oh, what happened?
Oh, he's
He's got to close out here. He's
so.
got to tell us all.
Get another pour if you're so. Get you.
If you're interested in short-term rentals, you can email me at staywow@staywowrentals.com. And then for the brokerage side for real estate, it's nexthome.com. So either one of those places, you'll find us.
Now we do the toast.
Both easy. Both easy. Good job on your
Thank you.
websites.
Thanks for coming in.
Absolutely.
Pleasure meeting you. Continued
Appreciate
success.
it.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.